Mumia, we're going to headquarters. He runs the state. The head of state has a nuclear program, an army with at least 500,000 troops, and the authority to decide the fate of an entire region. For 4.5 months, no one has seen a single live shot, heard his voice, or witnessed a single live broadcast. Only a brave yet wise photograph on the screen and a female announcer wrapped up and covered reading the text on his behalf. His name is Mujtaba Khamenei. And today I will tell you who really rules Iran, who really rules Iran. Why does it sound similar? Well, definitely not him. In the next few minutes, we will go over 4 things. The first is what is actually known about the condition of the new supreme leader of Iran. The second is who actually makes decisions in Tehran, the clergy, the army, or the Revolutionary Guards. The third is what happened to the Khamenei family. And fourth, I will show you a fact that will change your understanding of the nature of the Iranian regime. Let's start with the main point. On February 28, 2026, a joint Israeli-American strike kills Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran. Along with him, his wife and one of his daughters are killed. On March 8, the Assembly of Experts appoints his son Mujtaba as his successor. According to the Irish Times, based on conversations with 5 Iranian officials and representatives of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, this is the IRGC, right? The late Khamenei himself never named his son among the 3 possible successors. Mujtaba was promoted specifically by the IRGC under pressure, as Iran International reported back in March. At least 8 members of the Assembly of Experts refused to attend the vote in protest against what they called a hereditary transfer of power, which is directly opposed to the anti-monarchist foundations of the 1979 revolution. Well, those who hold the rifles and machine guns couldn't care less about your foundations, the foundations of your revolution. That's how it's always been, that's how it is today, and I suspect it will stay that way for quite a while. This is where things actually start to get strange. A bit later, I'll show you a specific quote from Israeli intelligence about who the real new leader of Iran is. The wording is so sharp that you wouldn't expect it from an official source. In the meantime, let's talk about the physical condition of the new leader. Since March 8, not a single video recording or audio recording of the new leader's voice has been published, not even once. That is, they can't even record his voice in a way that anyone would believe it's really him speaking. According to Radio Free Europe and several Iranian sources, he was wounded in the same strike that killed his father, allegedly with facial injuries. And the face, from my point of view, is very close to the brain. That's if we assume he actually has a brain and that it hasn't been knocked out. At his father's funeral, which was a week-long ceremony in July, 3 of his other brothers, all clerics, led the prayers at the coffin. He himself was nowhere to be seen. He just wasn't there. Not once did he show up. CNN reported that Iran's state channels were forced to broadcast AI-generated videos of the new leader. Scenes that never actually happened, including hugs with the late General Soleimani. Well, if they needed to, they would have made him kiss Richard the Lionheart or Nebuchadnezzar. Compare this to Brezhnev, who was shown barely standing on the podium at the mausoleum and mumbling his words, or with Biden at the debates, weak but alive and recognizable. But here, nothing, zero. I mean, you don't even need... before, you at least had to be present, right? But here, there's nothing at all. Not even once in 4.5 months. That makes you ask a question. If decisions are being made on behalf of a person whom no one has seen, no one has heard, who guarantees that it's really his decision? Well, I think you can guess. That's my point of view. Here's the quote I promised. So, Kobi Mikhail, an analyst at the Israeli Institute for National Security Studies, called Mujtaba a hollow figure in an interview with Fox News. Maybe Mujtaba doesn't appear in public, but he doesn't appear behind the scenes either, said Mikhail. We have reliable data that he doesn't control or lead the regime. Well, or what's left of the regime, he said. According to the Israeli intelligence officer, the current Iranian leadership is broken, confused, and barely functioning. He emphasized that this is the position of the Israeli side, which is in conflict with Iran. These are not independent confirmations, but rather a version, well, actually from a serious source, but still it's just wishful thinking. Now, who is in charge there? According to an analysis by the American think tank Newsweek, based on data from expert Ali Al-Foneh, since February 28, the country has actually been governed by a collective. Well, they call it a collective body. It consists of 5 people. That's President Pezeshkian, well, you know him, right? The Speaker of Parliament, that's Galibov, the head of the judiciary, Mohseni J, the commander of the IRGC, Ahmad Vahidi, and a representative of the regular army, whose name isn't even mentioned publicly. Only 5 people, including regular army representatives. That is, this army, Artesh, which is the regular armed forces of Iran, is represented, but so formally that the source can't even name the person who represents it. The real power in this group of 5, of course, belongs to the IRGC. The clerical institution, the Assembly of Experts, was steamrolled by coercive pressure, not by theological consensus. Mashtaba, unlike the other candidates, doesn't have any published religious works at all, and Foreign Affairs writes directly that his legitimacy is not spiritual but purely based on force. Well, sometimes, in the grand scheme of things, that actually helps. What about the rest of the family? So, the wife and daughter of Ali Khamenei, died in the same strike. The 3 other sons are all doctors, but according to Reuters, none of them are significant political figures. So, the dynasty has physically reached its limit, and among the surviving sons, the one who came to power is not the most prominent, but probably, let's call him, the most convenient for the IRGC. Either he matches their spirit very well, or simply he has no spirit left in him for a long time. Whether he breathes or not, I don't know, but as for the soul, maybe it's not even there anymore. This is something I promised to reveal in a separate piece, and for the Russian-speaking audience, it will be especially recognizable. The Iranian elite, just like the Soviet nomenklatura once did, have their own Rubliovka. Only it's not in Moscow, but mainly in London, with branches in Los Angeles and Toronto. According to General Morteza Mirian, this is an admission by the Revolutionary Guards themselves in the US, Canada, and Europe. There are about 4,000 close relatives of high-ranking Iranian officials living in Europe. But this includes the children of the country's spiritual leaders, military commanders, and supposedly popularly elected political figures. Fox News and the Washington Times have documented specific stories. There is the daughter of a former IRGC commander. Yahya Rahim Safavi's daughter runs a private psychology practice in the West. She never wears a hijab, even though her father defended the mandatory hijab in Iran for decades. Iran. Not only did he defend it, he also advocated for death penalty laws for women whose hair slipped out from under their scarf, or whatever it's called, right? And his daughter easily shows the hair growing in the place where American women usually shave before putting on a bikini. The son of Masume Eptaker, the press secretary for the takeover of the American embassy in 1979. There was a press secretary who spoke with Americans and journalists. This is his son. He, this very son of Masume Eptaker, happily told us how these revolutionaries mocked and executed American hostages. What would they do to them if something happened there? He himself sent his son to that very America which he supposedly hated, right? Now his son is building an academic career in Los Angeles. God bless him. But no one ever heard him say anything bad about the Iranians taking American hostages. No one asked him anything when he entered the country. When granting him a residence permit, no one here asked any questions. So you can fully support actions like killings, abductions, torture, and capturing Americans, and still live, work, and enjoy all the benefits that the United States of America provides to its citizens. And as for Khamenei himself, according to the Times of London, He owns 2 elite apartments in London's Kensington, one purchased in 2014 and the other in 2016. Whether it's in these apartments or others, Khamenei is known for his connections with young men, not with women. In our advanced and depraved society, we don't care. But the very same people who voted for him as the spiritual leader of Iran also vote to throw homosexuals off tall buildings in the square. They die from the fall, of course, as you can imagine, right? Somehow one thing doesn't always go together with the other, but that's just for us. For them, I guess it's normal. It all fits together perfectly. It fits together. Exactly the same thing you might have heard in relation to the Soviet Union. Communism for the masses, and special stores for the nomenklatura. I lived through all of this, as they say. I witnessed all of this in my youth. More than once. Or present-day China or North Korea with their closed elite districts. Yes, behind the wall, everything is fine. In such systems, ideology is not the conviction of the ruling class. It's a tool to keep the population obedient. The rules are written for those who are governed, not for those who govern. And here's the lesson of this story. A regime that cannot show the face of its own leader, a regime whose elite hides their children from the consequences of their own ideology, is not a symbol of strength. It's the image of a system that no longer truly believes in what it preaches. History has shown that such structures are held together by fear and lack of transparency only until information finds a crack. And in the era of smartphones and leaks, a crack is found faster than before. The Iranian people will sooner or later see the real picture. And that's how it has been with any system built on the gap between what it tells the people and how those in charge live. The question is not if, but when. Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone is interested in looking at this problem from another perspective, the old rule that what the gods may do is not for ordinary people like us. To those who are told about obligations, about the need to follow traditions, and other pleasant things that the ones telling them don't actually do themselves. If you're interested, watch the video. The icon for it has just appeared on the screen. Spend 4 or 5 minutes and maybe the ability to convey this kind of information to your loved ones or to anyone you talk to, and to those who start this conversation with you will come in handy. And if so, be sure to go and check it out. Having something like this in your arsenal is actually really great. That's all. Don't forget to hit the bell, and then you'll be the very first to get notifications about new videos. Goodbye.